at 7 o'clock. We're about to begin. Thank y'all, everybody, for joining us. It's Tennessee Talk with myself, Betsy Ross, and my co-host, Tennessee Williams.
Thank y'all for joining again. Episode 5, we're moving on up. We got a special guest, Xavier. Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Xavier, and I'm a local law enforcement officer in Tennessee.
All right. We're very glad to have you on. We've been trying to get a local police officer on here for a minute. What was you about to say, Betsy?
Yeah, thank you for joining us so we can get a look inside at some of the issues going on from your standpoint. We appreciate you being with us tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me.
All right. This first issue we're gonna get into. I just want to come in from a personal perspective. We're gonna get into just the change in the police and outlook. When my father was a policeman for like over 20 years, and when he came to career day, I remember it was such a big deal because all the kids looked at me and I was a big star for that whole day. And what hurts me is if I was to rerun that same situation today, I couldn't do it, because if I was to introduce my father as a police officer, none of the black kids would even respect me. They probably beat me up at recess. I don't want to get my age off, but back in the 80s, when my father came to my career day, I was a superstar for the whole day. I mean, you get to ride in a cop car and everything. I was like a superstar. Now, 2017, if that same situation happened, I would get beat on. I'd get beat on recess. Like, what do you feel about that change? You know what I'm saying? What's your opinion of that? It's a sharp change. I noticed it, and I know other people have too.
Right, and it's a lot to do with some situations that have happened on both sides. On the police side, where there's some actions that have happened that shouldn't have happened, and there's also on the African American community and large, where it's police officers are looked at in a negative light, and a lot of times it's people who don't actually know the law itself, and they think one thing and it's another, and we have to educate ourselves. And it sucks being a police officer now sometimes, because especially me being an African American police officer, there's two different sides, and it's hard because there's people in your community who you've grown up with forever, your whole life, and you've known them your whole life, and now you're a police officer, and they look at you different. And that's one thing that hurts me a lot, is because there's kids I've known since they were babies, and they've always talked to me. They've always been respectful. I've always been respectful of them and their family. And now they see me and they look the other way, or they don't want to have anything to do with me. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because the whole reason I became a law enforcement officer was to change how my community looks towards police officers, and change the relationships that the African American community at large has with the police officers, and to show them, like, I can remember riding through different housing projects when I first was on my own, and I would ride through, and like the kids would run, and I didn't like that. And so I remember I would stop and I'd talk to these kids every day, and every day they slowly started to come back. And I asked one of the kids, I'm like, why do y'all run when you see a police officer? And they're like, that's what we're told. We're told the police are bad and that they're going to get us. And I'm like, no, that's not true. We don't just randomly make kids run.
What you said about the education, what you said it is so right. People, it's a raising mentality, and it's like it doesn't happen so long that it just manifested to something bad. I used to run a club up in Jackson for like 7 years, and a lot of my security one night was out there talking about policing and how they hate policing, and it touched me. I had to pull him to the side. I was like, look, dude, my dad's a police officer. The dude you working for, you work for me. He raised me. Everything that I am It's because he put in me. Like, they were just sitting out there just, some cop drove by or whatever, I forgot the story. And they were just sitting there just jogging police. Police think this, police think that. And it got to the point to where I became enraged. And, like, it's going to be a long, hard slog, man, because, like, you got to educate slowly. And it's just so much misinformation out there, especially from police. So,
right. And that's another thing, man. Like, when you see, like, some of the things that have happened, I have family members on both sides who I've had family members who are law enforcement, and I've also had family members who were on the side of the law where they're going to jail every few years, and so I know what it's like for both sides.
Yeah.
And it I can see why some of the kids feel the way they do, but at the same time, it's also the way we're teaching our kids. We're taught to run, and that's not something that we should do, because that makes you look like you've done something. That makes you look suspicious, and it makes you look like I should be looking at you, instead of, what can I do to help? What can I do to better my community? It's let me run, and that's what we don't need.
Yeah, it's also it's the let me run. Don't talk to the cops. Don't snitch.
Oh,
it all sounds cool when you rap it in a song, but when you actually apply that to real life, there's somebody getting hurt, and there's somebody who's not getting information because you hold these dumb principles that don't really make any sense. As soon as somebody gets locked up, they snitch on them. So I'm just saying there's no principle in that.
Right, and the thing that I hate, that's one of the things that I hate most about, relations with the community and police is, don't snitch. But at the same time, if it's your family member, you want somebody to help out and give all the information you can. But when it's somebody else, man, don't say nothing. But how would you feel if it's your family member that's been, beaten up beyond recognition, or your mother is murdered? How would you not want that person to pay for what they've done?
They will want justice.
That's like I've been in a situation.
It seems to be a lot of fear and mistrust in law enforcement in certain communities these days. And a lot of people relate talking to the police to being a snitch. So that might be why so many people are scared to communicate openly with law enforcement. Do you think that might be a reason, Xavier?
I do think that, because, when you get labeled a snitch, that means that basically to some people, it means that you've turned your back on the community and you want, everybody to go to jail. No, it's not wanting everybody to go to jail. It's wanting the police to help to clean up a community. That's like, I've lived in the same community my whole life, and I grew up here, and I didn't see but a few positive role models in the part of the town that we lived in that were, that African American kids had to look up to. And when you don't see that growing up, and you come back and you want to be that change, it's hard when people don't want to tell you anything.
Exactly.
And you try, and then, it gets frustrating when you can ask something and people are like, no, I don't know, but you know that they know and they're not telling anything. And that family might need that closure to say, hey, we know who did this. This person is in jail and they'll never be out. But you don't give any information, but you still expect us to do the job, but you won't help us out at all.
Yeah.
I have to tell you like this.
I wonder if some of the people are afraid it puts them in danger. They live in those communities every single day, with these people. And, I just wonder if they're afraid to talk because maybe it would put them, in danger as well. especially in cases of homicide and things like that.
And that's true. It does put them in danger sometimes. But also, if we can get those people out of those communities who are doing the wrong, and people help us out, and they're not afraid anymore to, hey, I'm going to take back my community, and they're going to help us, then that can get some of those people away, and they don't have that power anymore.
Exactly.
Hey, this is it's one of those things where you just gotta, like you said, man, it's misinformation and it's education, and when you got them two things, it don't happen overnight, and you just gotta stay in it, man. Like that night when I had to correct my bodyguards one night, when I told them about that was the first time that they even heard anybody speak positive about a police officer. They was like, man, we didn't even know that. So it's just like it's misinformation and it's education. It just takes it's like I said, it's not overnight.
Right, and it's going to take a while. It's no solution that's positive and is going to work is going to happen overnight. It's going to take months and years of people coming together and talking. Sitting down and talking is the first step that we have to have. But if people don't come together, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Moving on to our second issue, immigration is a real hot issue today, and what I want to know your perspective on policing taking a position of ICE and going out there and doing their responsibility, going up there rounding up undocumented workers and people who live in here undocumented, all that. I want to know your position. How you feel about local police officers who really don't have the funding or the equipment going out there doing the job of another department?
I don't think it's going to work because, like you said, one, we're not going to have the funding for it, and two, a lot of these undocumented workers.
Do y'all have any training for that? Like, have they trained y'all to talk to undocumented workers and see, in another language? Have y'all got any training in that?
No, there's no training in how to talk to undocumented workers and. So
there's no funding and there's no training.
Right. I mean, the only training that you can have is going to take you. It's going to take you away from whatever department you're at, and you're going to have to take more and more classes, which is fine by some of us. But at the same time, it's going to take officers off the streets to protect. It's going to take a number of officers off of the streets, and when that happens. You're not going to have, that's going to cause safety issues.
I agree.
And then at the same time.
The ICE agents, they're pretty highly trained, correct? They're usually pretty highly trained law enforcement officers. So I can see there being an issue with, having other people do that job and then also putting the law enforcement officers in danger because, they can't protect their identity as well. People would know who they were in the towns that, the communities that they worked.
Oh, yeah.
And usually the agents will come in. Yeah, they do the investigation separately, so, their identities are a little more protected.
Right, and when you have people whose identities get, revealed and it's not going to help the situation.
Exactly. And it puts the officers at greater risk, I would think, definitely.
Right.
I want to know your view on breaking up the families. Like, if you got like I said, it's a hard job. Like, if you got an undocumented worker, but his family is here legally, what is your view on breaking up the family? Should the law be enforced and he go back and the family that's here legally should just strap it out, or should the family stay together? Like, what is your view on that? Where do you come down on that?
I think, when you have people who are here illegally, a lot of times they're not here to to do anything but work and provide for their family, because whatever country they come in from, they can't do that there because there's, one, not enough work, two, the wages are too low, or three, there's more health hazards in those countries than there are here. And when you take that, if you have that one person who is like a sole provider for their family, and then you send that person back, but you let the rest of their family stay because they're here legally, then that puts that family in poverty. And when that happens, that's just it's not right. I mean, if we're going to have people who have family here who are legal, that go through the what they can to be here legally, and then you have that person who's here illegally, but maybe they're trying to get their citizenship. A lot of people don't understand how long the process is to get citizenship.
Hey, Betsy said she changed her position on immigration because she had like an inside view on it. Didn't you say that like 2 episodes ago, Betsy?
Yeah, and I get a lot of flack for my views on this, but it's exactly how I see it. I see a very huge difference in people who are here to better themselves and their family and fight for the American dream, and people come over here and who come over here illegally to, just be criminals and try to harm this country. I see a very huge difference, and I know that I'm going to get a lot more flack on it, but that's okay. I know a lot of people personally who are here and they work so hard, and all they do is work and provide for their family and do the best that they can to be a good person. Now, that to me is a lot different than somebody that comes here, illegally to do things either to harm their country, commit crimes, sell drugs, bring drugs across the border, to participate in gang activity. I see a huge difference in that. So, Xavier, how would we identify the difference between those people? Is there any way to identify who's here to do good and who's here not to do good?
It gets hard because of how well some people blend in. Because you can have people who come here to better themselves, and then they'll have, some people may have a family member that comes here because they've seen, hey, he can come over, so I can come over at the same time, and they won't look at me because I'm that person's family member, so they'll feel like I'm doing the same thing, but it's a cover-up, and it's hard to just see how that is unless you're constantly watching. I mean, if you just see somebody one day and they hang out with different people, or they're around a different crowd, it's not as easy as if you have actual documentation of, hey, this person has brought this over and this person is a known member of this gang. If you don't have documentation to support it, then or information that you've seen firsthand, or somebody in whatever department you're in sees, then you can't say that this person is here for gangs or this person is here for drugs. You have to actually.
We also got to point out the fact that when we begin to focus on arresting the undocumented workers, that we also set them up to be prey. I was reading in California, undocumented workers, the rape cases have went up because they know if you see somebody who's working in a restaurant or somebody, one of them picking oranges or mopping or doing a bathroom, you can go sexually harass them and molest them because they can't turn you in, because if they go to the police and identify themselves as being undocumented, they're going to get deported. So since everybody in California knows this, the rates have went up on undocumented female workers. They say it's through the roof. So when you do that, you also set them up to be prey.
Right, and that's not fair to them. When they're here to better themselves, they may not have had the funds at the time or know the proper channels to go to get, legal citizenship. And when they're just trying to make better for themselves, and then things like this happen to them, and they can't report it without fear of being deported back to whatever country they come from, that's not fair to them.
Yeah, you can do anything you want to them because they can't go to the police. So they sit in ducks.
I haven't thought about that, but that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Xavier, do you think that extreme vetting would work to help kind of weed out the criminals and the people who were here that weren't here to serve a good purpose, doing background checks before they're offered employment, doing intelligence gathering about their past? Do you think that would help to discern, the difference between who was here because they're going to do good or bad? Or would that be a waste of time?
I mean, you really can't on background checks because if you do that, then that would take out some of the people who may have had a troubled past. Just like here with regular everyday citizens, it's the same thing. People who may have had a troubled past may actually be here, just trying to turn their life around. And then when you have to, when they get there, you have to still keep tabs on them. And that's the only thing is if you take out everyone who has a troubled past, then it becomes counterproductive, I think, because sometimes there may have been somebody who was over there and was a drug dealer because they were made to be. Like they're told either you're going to do this or we're going to kill you.
And
that person comes like that. They have a record of, well, they were a drug dealer, but now they're not trying to be that. They're trying to actually better themselves, and you send them back, then they're going to go back to that same thing, and then they're going to have to where their family's threatened again. And then what do you do?
Yeah, those are really good points. Very, very good points.
Staying on the topic of people in messed up situation, I want to get your thought on this Facebook killer. Went around. He finally got caught at McDonald's. They chased him down the street and he killed himself. But the reward, they was offering $50,000 for the reward, and now they saying ain't none of them people in McDonald's going to get it. So I just want to know what is your thought about this whole Facebook killing spectacle, going live, showing everybody you killing people, and what's your whole thought on that?
Man, that got first those McDonald's workers, they did what they were supposed to do, and if there was a reward offered, they should get that reward. There's no question that they shouldn't. And
it was $50,000. It was $50,000.
They should each get it. They both participated in apprehending him.
Right. So. And when you tell people that there's a reward for information, these people give you the information. It leads you to where this person is, and then you don't. That goes back to our first topic, community trust. Because
it does.
When you don't give that reward, then people are going to stop giving. They're going to stop giving tips. They're going to be like, hey, well, this didn't happen. What makes you think they're going to give me this reward for trying to help?
Because it's all over media. People see this.
Right.
People see it on social media. They're very upset about it, and I can see why. That was a very dangerous man, and both of the employees, to my understanding, participated in, helping the police and giving a tip. One person recognized him at the window, and she told somebody else to call law enforcement. So I feel like they should both get it. I think it's absolutely worth every penny, and they deserve it.
That's completely correct. And second, a lot of people I've seen on Facebook are saying, this was a ploy to get our minds off of what the president's doing, and the police should have had him in Cleveland and all this other stuff. One, people can change license plates. So if I have a car that has this license plate on it, and this is the car that people know that I'm in, I'm not saying this happened, but this is a theory that could have happened. Well, if you put that license plate in, then you're gonna get a different outcome from whatever dealership, because that license plate is supposed to go to a specific car. So if you go off of that license plate to get a tracking device or to track that vehicle because of the electronics that are in it, well, that's not going to give you the same vehicle. Two, the phone, the departments have to go through different channels to get warrants and everything else to get to track these phones and everything else. So sometimes it takes longer than 5-10 minutes or an hour to get this device found.
I'm going to tell you something else. But the thing about that is also, like you said in the beginning, it's education and misinformation. The people who said he should have been caught within 3 hours, notice they from a small town. This man is in Cleveland.
Right.
There's 1 million people that lives in Cleveland. I've been in Chicago. There's over 1 million people in Chicago. You just can't. Somebody shoot somebody and to get in a car, you just can't find a person like that. It's 1 million people in the city. So I don't think they comprehend that he's not in Maryland or Humboldt. Like, this dude he's in a live populated city with 1 million people in there. You just can't find nobody like that.
Right, and also, how many Ford Fusions are there, white Ford Fusions are there on the road in Cleveland? There could be hundreds of white Ford Fusions.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very popular method. Yeah.
So people aren't going to just stop every single white Ford Fusion they see.
And that's why what these McDonald's workers did was so great, because that's probably where most people are identified. In situations where you have long enough to get a good view of the driver, they were able to recognize him, see his face, and respond to the situation. Every passing motorist isn't going to look over and say, hey, there's, everybody's busy with their own lives these days, very, very busy and doing their own thing. I can definitely see why it would. And I don't think a lot of people understand how hard it is to get all those records about somebody's location and cell phone devices.
Right. You have to do more than just call a cell phone provider and be like, hey, we need this person's location. You have to go through whatever provider they have. You have to have the warrant. You have to have different information. And also, he had 2 different phones, because he had one he was talking on and one he was doing his Facebook Live on. You can throw those phones away anywhere and pick up new phones that you don't have to activate with your name.
Yeah.
That's true.
With
Xavier,
Facebook Live,
how would that affect his apprehension? Okay, say if he's going from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction, and there's a warrant to access his phone records in one, but then he crosses the line and he's in Philadelphia. Do they have to get another warrant in that jurisdiction?
Yeah, I never thought about that.
I'm not sure.
That would take a lot of time.
Right, and if that, I'm not sure in different states but I believe if we have a warrant for somebody here, and we have their phone records access, we can also, I believe we can share that information with other departments. If we have a path that he might be on, if we have a suspect to say was in a hit and run and there was an injury or whatever, and we have a suspect description, the vehicle description, we pass that all along to other law enforcement agencies. We have an email that goes through as soon as we get it out to every law enforcement agency in the area and it tells, hey, this person, be on the lookout for white male 20 to 25 or, whatever his description is, and it gets that out to every law enforcement agency, and that it just, I think sometimes we don't all have the same laws in every state, so it does make it harder sometimes.
Exactly.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna go into a little foreign policy topic right quick. I was at first. I want to get your perspective on this. At first, I was with Trump because he was doing something towards North Korea that nobody else did. He was kind of making them put up or shut up. You know what I'm saying? He was talking his crap. We're gonna do this, but then after a week or two, and I seen that the talking really didn't work. And the North Korea, I forgot his name, Kim Jong-il, Kim Gun.
Kim Jong.
Yeah, he started talking crap back to Trump. Yeah, we got the guns, we gonna shoot too. We gonna use our nuclear weapons first. So I'm I'm confused. You know what I'm saying? So at first I supported the tough talk, but now that Kim Jong has started talking tough, I don't really know if that's working anymore. What's your perspective on that?
Man, I've really not been into politics up until, recently, like the last 2 years. And a lot of things that I see, it's not going to work. You can't just start wars with other countries because you want to or because you believe that they can do something. I mean, it makes no sense to start a war.
I think it's a strategy. I don't think he want to go to war. I think this is a strategy he's employing. Like, he's going to talk real tough, let everybody think he's going to, you know what I'm saying, he's going to nuke you at any moment so they can sign a peace treaty. I think that's his tactic. I don't think it's working, but that's the tactic I think he's going with.
No, I haven't seen anything that he's done that is working. I mean, he said
well,
that he was going to.
I think a good point to bring up
strategy.
Korea, their missile test. I mean, their latest launch blew up almost immediately. I think that erased a lot of the military fears we were worried about. It was almost embarrassing for them, I would have to say. Do y'all not agree on that?
Yeah, that's got to be, to use a word that Donald Trump has used before, bigly embarrassing.
Yes.
When you say that you're going to do a missile test and then that missile blows up immediately, there's no help. There's nowhere to go from there.
But look, I kind of look at this as the glass half empty and half full, because even though they do a missile test and it fails all the time, how many times can they actually fail before they get right? Every dog has a day.
Right.
So if they keep doing these missile tests, one day it's going to be successful. So I don't laugh when they do a missile test and it fails. But I keep saying to myself, everybody can hit a target one day. If you keep shooting the gun, somebody's going to hit something.
Yeah, you're right. But you also have to have the right minds to do those tests. If your people who are in charge of doing your tests aren't knowledgeable, then it's never gonna help. Your missile system's never gonna go off, and it's not gonna do anything at all.
Yeah, I read an article today where in North Korea they're playing volleyball games at the North Korean nuclear test site. So I think that definitely might lift our morale in the military a little bit, and I thought that was a little funny, a little bit humorous, to be honest. Do y'all not?
No,
think
I think
so?
they both talking crap. I think they both are talking crap. I don't think Kim Jong is capable of the nuclear right now. I just think he's matching Trump tough talk. He's like, okay, he's going to talk tough to me. Well, I'm going to get on there and talk tough back. So that's what I think they both are doing right now. They're just talking tough.
Right.
Yeah,
and
to be our ally. Go ahead, Xavier.
What were you saying?
I said, it also helps that China seems to be our ally right now. They seem to be
I disagree with that.
That's what they're saying.
Man, China been playing us like fiddle for the last. Man, they've been doing that since the first Bush was in office. They always say they're gonna put these sanctions. They're gonna step up the pressure on North Korea, and it's more talk. Like they never do it, but they always say it, but they never do
it. You know, it's not really gonna. When you have people who are making decisions who don't know what they're doing and don't understand the ramifications of what they're doing, it's a dangerous thing. I think we need to have more control ourselves on what we're doing, not just give all to what our president is wanting to do. It's not helping.
Well, the president sets the agenda, so we got to follow the president's lead.
He sets the agenda, but there's also,
I didn't like Obama. I thought he was a dog. I thought he was real weak on foreign policy. But at the end of the day, I had to accept his agenda because he was the president, even though I didn't agree with it.
Right, and we're gonna, no matter who our president is or what happens, we're going to have to, go with it because they have the ultimate power, and there's nothing that us as citizens can really do to change their mind about, they're going to do whatever they want to do, and we just have to go with it. And we can speak our mind and have our own opinion about it, but at the same time, us talking about it is not going to do anything for what they want to do.
And I definitely feel as a country, we can't negotiate directly with these people. And, this is the end of the Obama era where, we negotiate directly with these countries. Mike Pence stated that, there would be no direct negotiation between U.S. and North Korea. And, I think that's something very telling that we're not going to do whatever North Korea asks us to do. Do y'all not agree that that's probably a good thing, that we're not going to negotiate directly with them?
Well, we have already tried that negotiation. It just, like I said, I'm frustrated because they are in a position where North Korea got nuclear weapons. So if we do anything, they're going to bomb South Korea. And so we're in a position where it's a no-win situation. We have no good options with them. We can't take them out. As soon as our soldiers touch foot in North Korea, they're going to blow the smithereens out of South Korea. So we got to sit there and just put up with these idiots. And that dude, that Kim Jong, the man has lost his noodles.
Yeah, and that's why exerting pressure to him, I think, is a good thing. And, cooperating with the allies such as China will also help us. I truly believe that.
China do hold some economic pressure on them, but they have yet to, push them or whatever. But
they represent more than 80% of the exports from North Korea, so you're absolutely correct on that, Tennessee. They have the ability to make it very, very hard on North Korea and their export business. So.
All right, 5 days ago was the end of tax day. And they held marches everywhere across America. Their whole principle was before President Trump can do a tax reform bill, he must show his income tax. Xavier, I want to get your position on that. Should a president be forced to show? Because there's no law saying he has to. But should a president be forced to show his income tax before he attempts to pass a tax cut so the people can see what his interests are?
I think so. If in his running for presidency, there was so much made about him not paying taxes, and I'm not sure if he did or if he didn't. But if he didn't pay taxes, that's not fair for this person to pass these tax reforms on people who are working every day and we have to pay these taxes, but he doesn't. You know, like.
Okay, he said he was being audited, but I think they said for like 20 years ago or something, he didn't pay taxes for 20 years ago. I forget. One of his tax returns got leaked to the public, and it showed that he didn't pay no income tax that year. But I don't know about the rest of them.
I think that his income tax return that was released actually made him in a more positive light than it did in a negative. Basically, it showed that he made a lot of money and he paid a lot of money. And there are tons of loopholes for wealthy Americans.
Yeah,
and that's just the way that it is.
Most of the rich people are like that. It's not Donald Trump. If you take a rich man, especially from that New York area, they all do what Donald Trump do. So it's not like you can just point to Donald Trump. I mean, it's like Wall Street is just full of sharks.
Right.
Yeah, America's in way too many dangers right now, I think, to be solely focused on Trump's tax returns. Yes, it's important. It says a lot about, him, and his income as a person, his, honesty, I guess, is what, that's what people's argument is. But then again, look at all the things going on. Do we really need the distraction of his tax returns that aren't possibly going to do us any harm?
I want to play devil advocate with you. So we don't see his tax return, and he sends his tax cut to the Senate to pass. Now, since we don't know what's in his billing, if he gives tariffs, tax cuts to China or anything, we wouldn't know this. He might have a business over in Russia or China, and in this tax cut, it might be something that goes to that thing. So people are saying we need to see his tax cut so we know what his interests are. Because if we don't know what his interests are, he can fill his tax cut bill with anything, and we won't know about it until after he leave office. That's the argument they're saying. They want to know where his money is coming from. So when he fronts his tax cut and the senators and congressmen got a vote on it, they know exactly where the money going.
Yeah, I definitely think if he was doing anything wrong, it would have been exposed with all the surveillance that the Obama administration was doing on, the Trump team. I definitely think that anything and everything he's done in his past would have been exposed and found out, even though it's illegal to expose somebody's tax returns. They did a lot of other things that were illegal by leaking things. I definitely think if anybody had any knowledge on that or if he did anything, it would have already been released. He hasn't been proven he's done anything wrong.
Xavier, I ask this question every episode to every guest. Because Trump, he inspired so much hate, and the level and the passion is something I've never seen. I want you to explain to me, from your view, what is your reason that he has so much hate, that he inspires and brings out so much hate?
Man, it's I don't understand why that was a lot of his campaign strategy was hate filled, and I don't understand how. I'm not saying that Hillary should have been president because I didn't vote for her either. But at the same time, somebody whose whole campaign was on hate.
So you said his whole campaign was. Now I think Betsy's going to disagree with. She's going to cut me off right here. But you think his whole campaign was based on hate?
I do. A lot of not his whole campaign, but the majority of his campaign was based on hate and
give some examples.
And the fear that comes from the hate.
Yeah, please.
Okay, like when he said his immigration reform, it was mostly based upon those immigrants from Mexico. And when he says things like, they're rapists and all that, and that's what they come here for, that you can't say that's the reason. I mean, if you take away immigrants, the rape numbers are not going to go down. Because that's not who is doing most of the rapes and the crimes that are happening. That's
matter of fact, they get The undocumented immigrants are getting raped. If you want to be honest, they're getting raped right now.
And that's one thing. And then there's, you know, you can't say stuff like that, and I don't see how people didn't take that as hate-filled and only targeting one group of people, because there was never any mention.
Go ahead.
If I felt that there was any evidence whatsoever that Trump was racist or misogynist, I definitely would not be a supporter of him. You know, during his campaign, he consistently supported LGBT rights, a woman's right to choose, and equal pay and family leave laws.
Wait. He supported
anybody that's here illegally, undocumented, is subject to deportation. And the reason is because they're committing a crime just simply by doing that. So I'm not sure that we can really call that racism when they're, you know, breaking a law. And then
when did he support gay people? I never remember no time in his campaign when he supported gay people.
He supported their individual rights during the campaign. I remember it. I noted it. And a lot of people never look at those actual facts. There has really been nothing that he's done to limit their rights since being in office. But the media has perpetuated that.
Okay, what do you say about Xavier when he be saying when he said the tone, like all the, you know, the immigrants, they rapists, Mexicans, and calling people all this bad stuff?
You know, I agree that maybe he should come, you know, in a different direction. But to be honest, his tone is not what bothers me. The dangers we face is what bothers me. And if he's taking care of that and trying to make this country safer, I can't disagree with him and, you know, not support him due to his tone.
Now,
you know, everybody has their own opinion of how people should be.
I'm going to push you on this, because are you saying that basically because you was a demographic that he haven't targeted? Now, are you saying that just because you represent a demographic he haven't targeted? Now, if you was a Hispanic...
Now, how is demographic being an educated white woman? Because I'm in a single mother household, so that definitely doesn't fit the entire person, you know, the people that voted for him. That's definitely not the entire population. The reason that I voted for him is because of what he do.
Look, during his campaign, I heard him, he did his runs about blacks living in Chicago, Mexicans jumping the border, China people stealing. I never heard him once degrade a woman. So that's what I'm saying. Can you take that position because you was never targeted by him? Because the people that was targeted by him, they feel threatened by this dude.
I haven't heard any evidence of anybody living inside this country legally being targeted by him, no matter their race.
No, I'm talking about you know, the words. I'm not talking about physically being targeted. When I say target, I mean he gets on the campaign trail and single you out. You know, like when he get up there one time, I seen him. He was like, "Black people, you're living like shit. Y'all ain't got nothing to lose." But I was like, "Wow, you just said that on national TV." Like he say some things that kind of, you know what I'm saying, that can rub people in the wrong way, especially if you one of the ones that he targeted.
I mean, I guess you know, I have a lot of issues with different people saying that, you know, he's anti-women. I think a lot of us women are actually anti-women. The modern-day feminists, I mean, they're against Ivanka Trump, his daughter, when she holds a powerful position. I think a lot of times when we hold powerful positions, we as women, you know, criticize each other instead of making each other more powerful and saying, wow, this is awesome. I think if we stood behind each other, it would definitely make a huge difference. It's, you know, for women's rights, but only certain women.
I think that people are against his daughter having that position because it's his daughter. It's not somebody who did something to get that position.
That's
like
happened
there was
many times.
But there's there's people who are more qualified for that position than somebody you just giving that position to somebody because she's your daughter. Like
maybe.
I think
to me, qualified. They did an amazing article in the Time about the 100 most influential people of 2017, and she was in there, and it was amazing. some of the things she did. I think people want an outside opinion and give an opinion without really digging in and seeing the facts of what's going on. And that's very easy to do. But when you look at the facts and what she's actually in there doing, fighting for women's rights, you know, talking to different people, I think you would have a different opinion of her. But it's all about being knowledgeable and educated in what's actually going on instead of making an opinion based, you know, on things that are alternative facts.
I gotta agree with Betsy on this because people, they will take a group of some demographic, they will try to monolith them all in just one little thing. I know I got this plenty of time when I'm debating political or talking issues, especially among African Americans. I lean to be a little bit more conservative on the conservative side. So they do, like, people do in general like to take a group of people and say, all y'all got to think this way or all y'all got to think that way. And if you have a different thought or something, then you look at it as being as other or funny. So I kind of see where you're going with it on that, Ben.
Definitely. In the media, you know, they spin things the way that they want to spin things, and a lot of people get every single fact that they have or opinion that they have from watching TV. And most of those are opinions, even Fox News. You know, it's a lot of opinions. It doesn't mean what they are stating is complete facts, and we have to remember that. You really have to look, you know, at the bigger picture. You have to step in and actually look at what's going on. And for a lot of people, I mean, we've kind of become a lazy society. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, you want to look on social media, you see one article, a lot of people don't even click on the article to read it, and they're already commenting, stating their opinion. You know, I can open the article a lot of times, and people aren't even commenting on what's in the article. They go by the headline.
Right, and I've seen that too, and you can't look at everything and get all of your information off of Facebook. You have to actually go look at some of the stuff. That goes to more than just when people are talking about or having debates about the president or anything like that. That goes to also what our first topic was about. They get their information from Facebook, and they don't actually look up what's going on.
You're right. And a lot of it is a trend situation. You know, a lot of people joined the feminist movement, went to march because it was trendy. It was trendy to get you a pink hat and get out there with everybody and hold up signs. But a lot of those same people cannot tell you their actual opinion based on any kind of facts. And, you know, I get a lot of flack. Sarah, do you not stand behind feminism? Well, absolutely. I believe in equal opportunities for men and women. And so far I haven't had any of those opportunities taken from me, you know, by any men. I feel as a woman in America, I have so many different rights and opportunities to get out and better myself. And I appreciate that every single day. And the people who are out there fighting for this country for those rights.
Well, I'm going to tell you like this, man. You can't take your situation and paste it on everybody else's because there's a lot of women that's going through discrimination. They just fired Bill O'Reilly from Fox News. They said like over 20 women that came forward, and more people is now coming revealing how to be a woman on Fox News. And they said it's like it's hell. They said the man was leering, touching, talking. One black girl said he referred to her as hot chocolate for 2 years. Said he never called her by her name. Said he would stare at her titties and call her hot chocolate. So there's a lot of women.
And you know what's ironic about that? You know what's ironic about that situation with Bill O'Reilly? Is when
he got Ludacris. Yeah, he got Ludacris fired. Yeah.
He got Pepsi. He got Pepsi to take down every ad that they had with Ludacris because he stated that that the music that he made was chauvinist, I guess, towards women and all these other things. And then here he is, it's come out that he's done these things.
Or it's been alleged
that is ironic.
that he's done these things. he was an outstanding presence on Fox News. They renewed his contract until, surprisingly, they fired him. They gave him a multi-million-dollar deal just to walk away. Not one bit of evidence has been shown that he's done these things. And it's important that we, as the American public...
You didn't read the deposition, Betsy? You didn't read the deposition?
That's the truth.
The woman...
People that say...
No, this was in court. Yeah, the woman said he would call them while he was masturbating, and he asked the woman what she was doing, and she said she was eating some taco or something, and he demanded her to take the food and put it in her vagina. This dude is he's a creep.
She said that, Tennessee, but I could say a lot of different things. I could put that in a deposition with my statement.
Oh, come on. Betsy, you can't believe that. They fired him.
They took hush money from him. Now, I'm sorry,
they paid him $13 million out.
Yeah, if he gave $5 million to each party. If something was so wrong and bothered me, I'm not going to take a single dollar for it. I'm taking action.
Okay,
and,
this is I can't believe you.
A lot of times women don't. A lot of times women don't say anything because they feel like their opinion is going to be told. They're going to be told to hush because this person is so prominent. There's they feel like that they're not going to be treated like this actually happened to them,
and they're going to lose their job.
Yeah.
Don't you know they paid out $13 million and to settle lawsuits. Now these women can never talk about it. But they paid what company pays $13 million for an innocent man? So they knew what he was doing and they just kept paying him off. That's sad and disgusting.
Just to keep the media out of it because it can cause a media firestorm. And I'm not saying
$13 million worth?
Right. But I believe in having evidence. I believe that people should be innocent until proven guilty.
They paid $13 million. What more evidence do you need?
He had a family, Tennessee. Don't you think if you had a family, you would pay every
Bill Cosby had a family also.
Quiet?
By five
Bill
different
Cosby
women.
Also.
5 different women paid $13 million. I see it was one woman, and they paid $13 million. Okay, they just didn't want to have his name in the dirt. I give you that. There's 5 different women. Between those 5 different women, they payout equals $13 million. So that means he did it once, he did it twice, 3, 4, 5 times. That's not an accident. That's a pattern.
Tennessee, people can come forward once money is announced and people know that people are getting money. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of people who will step forward with false claims just to be entitled to some of that money.
Oh my!
So I'm sorry, I'm a woman. If any of it was wrong, then it was wrong.
Hey,
but let's wait.
If I ever get in trouble, I'm gonna have you defend me because I'm gonna have you defend me.
Sorry, I decided against being an attorney. You'll have to. You'll have to.
Hey, the 8 o'clock hour is coming up real quick. Give your last opinion on this Bill O'Reilly there before we get on out for the show.
I think that Bill O'Reilly
innocent, guilty.
I think that he should be treated in the media the exact same way that they treated Bill Cosby. If he's not, that's not fair.
I do, yeah, exactly. But all this with Bill Cosby, here he is at the end of his life, basically. All these people are coming forward. I think a lot of the same thing is happening with him. People want some of that money. It might have been true for 2, 3, 5 women, but there's always the possibility that somebody else is coming forward just to get some of that payout. And if so, that's very, very sad that that's happening.
And you're right. If people are just coming forward just to get a payout and that it never happened, then, those people need to be put in jail, just like if I go out and rape somebody, I go to jail. But that same person that says that I raped them, nothing happens if they're found out that that's not true.
I think
is that true? Nothing. Oh, yeah. So the person that did the false allegations might not even face any criminal charges if it was found not to be true.
That, in some situations, that has happened. There was a guy who was in Atlanta, Brian Banks. He went to prison for years, for I believe 5 years, for a rape that he did not commit, and that woman did not go to jail. Now she had to pay so many $1 million back to him, but at that same time, she did not go to jail.
Now, you know that dude that got shot at Walmart, that the cops came in and shot at Walmart? A Walmart customer called and lied. They said the man had a gun. He was loading it up and shooting it at people. So they came at Walmart, saw the dude, and shot him. That dude that made that false call, they never get charged for that.
And
I forgot his name.
He should have been charged, filing a false police report.
I forgot his name. You remember that case? He was shot in Walmart. He had a BB gun.
Now with BB guns and real guns, a lot of times you cannot tell the difference. Especially in that split second, you can't tell the difference between a real gun and a BB gun.
Yeah, in this case, the caller called the cops and said he has a loaded gun and he's shooting it at people. This dude doing a camera, he was just walking around Walmart with a BB gun in his hand. He never aimed it at nobody. So it was a false report.
That may have been a false report, but you can't go into Walmart with a gun, loaded or BB gun, walking around with it.
No, he got the BB gun from Walmart. Walmart sells BB guns. This is in Ohio.
Oh, I know Walmart they sell, but if it's in the package, that's different. But if he has it out of the package, walking around, and that's a whole different story.
Yeah, he was.
That's a potential threat.
All right, it's 8 o'clock now. We got the end, so we're gonna do a little some closing statement, man. I want to thank Xavier, our special guest for tonight. Betsy, want to add on anything?
Everybody, thank y'all for joining us tonight. Make sure you join us again next Thursday at 7 o'clock, where we'll discuss more hot topics and have another special guest.
All right, Xavier,
thank y'all for having me. Yeah, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it, and I just hope that us as a country can come together more and better ourselves, as a whole.
I agree. I agree fully. Thank you so much, Xavier. We appreciate you. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank y'all for having me.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good night.
All right. Y'all too.